have you used like recreational drugs? I know a lot of people that have bipolar, schizophrenia, or even depression, or the general public has a wide use for drugs like cocaine, meth, all those kind of things. Have you struggled with any kind of like drug dependence with that?
Have I found any codependence?
Have you ever struggled with drugs? I know a lot of people that have bipolar, they also struggle with illicit drug use like cocaine, meth, anything like that. Have you had any kind of history with that? I'm just curious.
Well, of course I have. Not with myself. I've never done any drugs. Not a big drinker. I don't even drink at all now. But drugs and mental illness go hand in hand. Alcohol, illicit drugs are depressants. And some of them, on the flip side, are stimulants. So either way, they're going to harm your thinking. I have several people who were attending AA on a regular basis and come to my meetings on a regular basis and go to 2 or 3 other meetings on a regular basis. Between the alcoholism or the drug use and the bipolar, that's how they get through the day. So it does go hand in hand, but it depends on the individual.
Okay. Why do you think it goes hand to hand? Is it people that, for example, are like in a manic phase, they want to bring themselves down, or do they usually use like an upward to kind of even push themselves higher? Why do they?
Let me tell you a little thing that happened in my life when I was about 40, I guess, 35. A friend of mine from college called me one day. He was living in Dayton, Ohio. I was outside Columbus. And he was discussing his young son. His young son, I think, was 16 at the time. And the young son had been taking drugs and got depressed at the same time, and then started breaking into houses to supplement his income so he could buy his drugs. He got picked up by the cops breaking into a house. My friend, his father was a very prominent man in Dayton, and they were going to turn over his son to his parents and have him stay in their custody. The parents went to the sheriff's office, got out of the car, walked up to the police car. The kid got out, pulled a gun, shot himself in the head. Now, which did it? The depression or the drugs? I would say both. I had a young lady. I had a clothing store in Ohio for men and women, and every Christmas we would hire young ladies, mostly young ladies in junior high and high school, to wrap packages and run errands and stuff. And one Christmas I hired a young lady who was just wonderful, vivacious, cute, laughing all the time. I thought she was really on her way to being something else. One Saturday morning, a friend came into the store before we opened up. She was screaming and crying. The little girl who was working for me had pulled a gun on herself last night, pulled the covers over her head, and shot herself dead. There is no explanation for what causes things like that. They can be situational, they can be drugs, they can be depression, they can be anything. But what I've learned is that teenagers, young adults, are just so battered about with stress and all the things to get through high school and to get into a good college and to have friends and everything. It is a real epidemic, and there have been about 2 or 3 more suicides with people I've known in my life. Just because, well, you can't explain why. You don't have the exact answer, but it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely a lot of whys. Why do these things happen to people? Like, you're a young kid, you're a teenager, you could be any kind of age and something traumatic can happen. And you're always thinking, why? Why me? Why does this happen? And for the rest of your life, you're always going to be thinking why, and just not having that understanding or that explanation of why, it just puts you in a whole different place. You're always going to be chasing that why, but there really is no answer. You're never ever going to get that why.
No, not at all. One of the big things I focus on in my book is the teenage depression. And I used to speak at high school psychology and health classes on teenage depression. So many people would come up after my talks and talk about all the things, no matter what walk of life they were in, that were beating them down, like pressure from their parents and inability to start on the basketball team and having no friends, and they're just getting hammered left and right. And the schools don't do a lot to help them. They think they do. Well, maybe that's compared to 50 years ago. But for what these kids need, they don't give them enough help.